Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Yesterday we talked about the top 10 cards from 2021, and today we're gonna have a bit of fun roasting some of the worst cards from 2021. I'm pretty excited about this video. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and this is pretty much just gonna be all my opinion, guys. The cards that I think are the worst from 2021. Obviously, you guys also have opinions. You might disagree with me, or you might think I missed a card. If so, of course, feel free to leave it in the comments below. But anyways, we'll get into it. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss Dragon Ball Super video. Honestly, I can't in my right mind advertise TCG Player in this because I don't want you guys to be buying any of these cards, but we are going to shamelessly plug yourplaymat.com, guys. If you are looking for any custom sleeves, playmats, even foil playmats, use their link in the description to get 10% off your order. They make incredible custom art sleeves. I love them. I don't have to double sleeve them. They're absolutely incredible because they don't peel. Anyways, again, 10% off your order in the description. Let's get started. Alright, so the first card, you guys may have heard me talk about this several times if you've been around for at least a few months, but if you're newer here or you just like to hear me complain, basically we have the green Vegeta leader from set 15, and this thing is just such a joke, man. Like, for me, this might be the number one card. This isn't really ranked in any order, but this may be the worst card of the year for me, at least, because not only does it like require your opponent to do something, you don't draw cards, which isn't always a problem for a leader. You don't always have to draw cards to be good, but you don't draw cards, and what your leader does do requires your opponent to do something. So keep this in mind. Your opponent can pop one of your battle cards, which is again going to be the way you trigger this leader, and then they get to pick the card they discard. So by doing that, they can just like pop one of your battle cards whenever they want, and then just like, okay, pitch Sand Instincts, pitch Deborah. Like, it's just not very good. That's the problem. And again, the number one thing about this leader is that it requires your opponent to do something, and then when they do that, you don't even get that great of a payoff. And on the other side, your opponent technically never has to KO any of your battle cards by skills to play the game. Like, a lot of decks do that. Most colors have ways of removing battle cards by skills, but it's just something you don't have to do to play the game. So if you ever come across this type of deck, you just never have to use a skill to remove a battle card, and then their leader is basically a vanilla for the most part. So this leader is, again, honestly, like the worst card for me in my opinion. Let me know if you agree or disagree with that in the comments below. But anyways, we'll move on. Next up, we have Kaioken Son Goku Decisive Battle. Now, I promise this is not going to be only green cards from set 15, but these are the two most disappointing cards for me for sure. So Kaioken Son Goku Decisive Battle, I honestly love the card until you get to the last line of text. So all the keywords, deflect, double strike, barrier, dual attack, all incredible. Evolving for 3 over any mono green Goku with 2 or 3 gives you a lot of options, and then when you play it, you KO 2 battle cards ignoring barrier, and then your leader gets 10k power during the next turn. So I can live with all that. I can bear with all of that, and I still think this card is pretty solid. Like, you have dormant potential, you have other negates that can help you get through your opponent's turn while your leader is only at 5k, but the last line of text at the end of the turn, you send it to the warp, and then you play Goku confronting invasion from your warp. So my biggest problem is like the fact that I invested all of this into this card, and I'm still getting the downside of my leader losing power the next turn, and you're telling me I have to lose my basically my boss monster at the end of the turn. That's just like where I draw the line. This card is really bad for that reason. I can't see it seeing much play. I don't know, even if there's like a free Goku you can play that this evolves over, it's just not worth the downside of your leader going down in power and losing this guy at the end of the turn. I just don't think it's worth it. Then we have the Goten leader. So I don't know, this one I just really don't like it, and I didn't like it as soon as it was revealed, mostly because the leader itself and most of the cards in the archetype are just like super vanilla. Like, it just doesn't seem like there was much creative drive put into this archetype. Basically all it does is attempt to boost the leader to like a really big like 40k triple striker, and it's just super easily stopped by literally any negate in the game. Like, this deck doesn't do anything unique. It doesn't even do like red things all that well. It doesn't really minus things power. It doesn't really keep the board clear. It doesn't really put on a lot of crazy pressure with its inherent archetype battle cards. Like, it doesn't do anything well. And again, the one thing that it's meant to do, which is again boost the leader up really big, just gets stopped by any negate or even any blocker if you can't remove it from the board, which again, this deck doesn't really like kill things all that well either. So yeah, I think this is like a really watered down version of Reboot Gohan, but like in the most watered down way. Like, it's like super vanilla. Yeah, I just think it's a pretty bad leader from recent sets, to be honest. Then we have Goku Black Works Undone. So this actually might be one of the top cards as well for this list. Like, if the Vegeta leader and the Goku 5-drop are the top two, this may very well be number 3. So I'm gonna give this card a read because it's kind of confusing. So When choosing cards in your life using the activate main skill on your blue Goku Black only card, which is, there's only one in the game at the moment, you may choose a card in your battle area instead. Auto limit 1, choose one card in your hand, discard it. When this card's played, flip up to one of your blue Goku Black leader cards, and you can't play non-Zamasu or non-Goku Black battle cards for the game. So that part of the effect is actually really cool. So you can basically unawaken your leader, which can allow you to ramp, and then you can flip back over, drawing 2 more cards, all that good stuff, whatever. And this guy can be chosen to put in your energy instead of critting a life. But then the second problem comes with the second activate main. Limit 1, if your leader card's a Goku Black only and you choose one Zamasu teamwork undying in your unison area, add a marker to the chosen card, then place this card under it from your battle area. So basically you're playing this card, unawakening your leader, and then you have to pick one of the other effects to like either ramp it from your energy or put it under your unison. Not only that, but like when you play it, you're also pitching a card, so you're not even really like super plussing in hand size, but you just can't make the most out of this card because it basically puts you in a bind, makes you choose one of the following options. So you either again have to boost your unison or ramp in energy. It's just really awkward. The card just doesn't really work all that well for what it's intended to do, which is support the set 2 Goku Black leader. So this card was definitely a big flop in my opinion. Then we have Broly, Berserker, or Frieza's Army. So I don't think anyone would have expected this card to be on the list, but I have a very specific reason as to why. So permanent, if your leader card is a green Frieza Army or Frieza Clan card, reduce energy cost of this card in your hand by 1 for each green extra card in your battle area and drop area. So this can be a 1-drop in King Cold, and it came out in the same set as King Cold. If your opponent has 3 or more energy when this card is removed from your battle area by a skill or KO'd, you may choose 2 cards in your hand and discard them. If you do, choose up to 1 mono green Broly BR card with energy cost of 6 or 7 in your hand and play it. Okay, so basically what this card does is it allows the King Cold deck to play the starter Broly aggro engine, which I think in theory and at first glance is kind of interesting, but this whole engine requires you to discard cards to rank up the next part of the chain, and that has never really been a good strategy outside of the actual starter Broly leader, because you can pitch as many cards as you want in starter Broly and you're always going to refuel back up to 6 cards in hand. Any other deck in the game that wants to adopt this engine is not able to refuel like that. You are basically just like saying, okay, I'm going to lose 2 cards for the rest of the game, and I'm gonna have to deal with that somehow, and that's just not very good. Same thing if you go into the 6 or 8 drop from this, then you're pitching cards to pop things during battle, and those are just more cards you're not able to refuel. So while I think it's a cool concept that they wanted that engine to be accessible in King Cold, it's just not very practical, and it's never really been practical in any other green deck that again is not starter Broly. Then we have Hercules, Majin, Exterminator. So this really just represents all the super combos of this type, which never really took off competitively. They're really tough to use, and they're probably not worth it. Like basically with this card, you can give up your 1 of 4 super combos to give your unison a marker, which is never really gonna be a worth trade-off. Super combos are so valuable in Dragon Ball, and while Dragon Ball is very consistent and there's not like a ton of sackiness in the game outside of like random cards that limit to 1 or secret rares, super combos are part of that sackiness, because a lot of times whoever sees more super combos is probably pretty heavily advantaged in that game, right? So giving up one of your super combo slots just to give your unison a marker is probably never going to be worth it. But still, like, having said all that, I think it was a cool card concept to try out, and then it kind of gives us the opportunity to see like, okay, this type of thing doesn't really work. It's a really tough sell to give up your super combo for something like that. So definitely one of the more floppy cards in my opinion. Then we have a Fated Meeting. So this card to me is just hilarious. So activate main / battle for 2, draw 1 card, then choose one of your opponent's using cards or battle cards with energy cost of 4 or less, switch it to rest mode, then that card can't be switched to active mode for the turn. So what's funny about this card is it came out the set after Power of Super Saiyan, which is a free card that basically does the same thing, but better actually, because it doesn't care about energy cost. And yeah, this card costs 2 when Power of Super Saiyan costs 0. So the fact that this even came out is just funny to me. It just doesn't need to exist, because it's just, it just pales in comparison to Power of Super Saiyan. So I think it's pretty funny for that reason. Then we have Son Goku Spirit Boost Warrior. So this card, like, I actually really liked it when they initially revealed it, but over time you realize that it's super impractical. So the deflect double strike dual attack, being a 20k body, makes you think it's like Red's version of Obuni, but the main problem is like it offers your leader some free defense, which is really cool, but its protection's actually really bad. So the limit 1 Spirit Boost 1, when this card's placed in your drop area from your battle area by a skill or KO'd, play this card from the drop. So that literally only protects it from being placed specifically in the drop. So blue bouncing it or spinning it back to the deck just like gets around this. Black warping it gets around this. Yellow negating skills and killing it gets around this. So like this card has a lot of weaknesses and probably can't ever be played for the intention that it was made, which is to, again, like have a really big body on the board, putting a lot of pressure on, but then offering your leader some additional protection as long as you have a unison in play. So that's kind of unfortunate. Made this card a really big flop in my opinion. Then we have SS Kaba's Spirit Resonance. So this card came out with the starter Vegeta deck, and it came out after Piccolo Jr. Unison and after the Mass Saiyan Unison. And the reason I mention those two unisons is because those are 2-drop red unisons that draw cards. Kaba's +1 is sometimes like not even applicable to the board state. So like even though like Vegeta can give this guy an extra marker upon awakening, and there's a battle card Vegeta that can I believe play this from the deck, it's still like never going to be worth playing in a competitive build of starter Vegeta over Piccolo Jr. Unison or the Mass Saiyan Unison. So for that makes this card really bad in my opinion, just considering the context of like when it came out, because it came out after those really busted red unisons. Then the final card for today, guys, we have Trunks Fusion Renewed. So this card has like way too much going on to be playable. So we have a 2-drop 10k blocker, counterplay, send 2 cards from your drop to your warp, play this card. So keep in mind, this question comes up a lot with another counterplay that's very similar to this. You have to warp the 2 cards and pay the 2 black cost, right? And the rest of the card kind of explains that. So permanent, if you have a battle card with Overwhelm skill in play, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand without paying its energy cost. So that's basically referring to the fact that if you're playing the Supreme Kai of Time deck and you have a Overwhelm that has stuck around and not been warped, you can play this card for free, but you still have to warp the 2 cards from your drop. Then auto pay 1, when this card's played, it gains revenge for the turn. So if you ever actually have to cast this thing for 2, you're probably never resolving that 1 energy auto to gain revenge, because it just costs way too much energy, especially in a black deck. And the rest of this card, for that reason, is only playable in the Supreme Kai of Time deck, but the Supreme Kai of Time deck is rather unplayable because it kind of auto loses to blue. You have to successfully overwhelm cards to do various effects in that deck, and blue just like wholeheartedly stops that entire deck because of Godsling Technique Trunks negating the play of whatever you're trying to play. So that just makes this card specifically like rather totally unplayable. But anyways, guys, those are my thoughts on the 10 worst cards in 2021. Of course, again, let me know in the comments below if you thought I missed a card or if you disagreed with one of my choices. Let me know. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.